Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the life of Mr. Montay Stinson. We ask you, Lord, for justice in this situation, Lord. Let the voices be heard. Let this family have justice in this most horrible situation. I ask you, Father God, to be with us today. Let us all come together as a community to work together to be able to bring about a change within Atlanta and also in the surrounding areas. In your Son, Jesus Christ's name, we do pray. Amen.
And first of all, I guess we are here again. Just literally 20 days ago, we were right across the street addressing another inmate who have died inside the Fulton County jail. To my understanding, it's close to 10 deaths in less than 9 months. And we're here again. And we're going to keep coming back until someone hears our cry. I call it the cries from the valley. So next we're going to have Attorney Kenneth Muhammad, who's representing not only the inmate that we are assisting 20 days ago right across the street, and now we're getting closer to this sheriff department to try to figure out what's going on inside and why black men are dying at a rapid rate inside this jail. I'm disappointed. I traveled here from North Carolina, and I'm upset and mad and angry that individuals are in jail, and yet jail here in Fulton County seems to be some type of death wish. So we want to make sure we address this and speak loud in reference to these issues. No one should have to go to jail and then end up in a box going home. It's not a good feeling for the family. So we want to thank you all for coming. And next we're going to have Attorney Kenneth Muhammad to come and talk about the legal aspects of things.
Good morning. My name is Kenneth Muhammad. I'm the attorney for the family of Montay Stinson. Montay Stinson is a 40-year-old young man who unfortunately died at the Fulton County Jail in the late hours of July 31st of this year. He's one of a number of young men who have died this year, needlessly and senselessly. We do understand that there have been recent efforts by the sheriff's office to obtain more funding for the jail. And the focus, it appears, of the discussion at this point is on the issue of overcrowding and sending inmates to, possibly sending inmates to other locations. With regard to Montay Stinson, his story and what happened to him, a focus needs to be placed on the issue of how medical treatment is being handled and conducted at the Fulton County Jail. We do believe that there are a number of things that can be done short of, yes. We do believe that there are a number of things that can be done short of what is in the current discussion about sending inmates to other facilities, because regardless of the number of people that are in the Fulton County Jail, those that are there need proper medical attention. They need several issues addressed with regard to the conditions that are there. And Montay Stinson and what happened to him is tragic, it is unfortunate, and it is something that could have been avoided if these issues would have been handled sooner by the Fulton County Jail. And so what we find is, from the reports that have come to us so far from the jail, they are reporting that at approximately 11:45 p.m. on July 31st, there was banging heard by deputies, and there were inmates yelling that there was a problem with one of the inmates. A deputy reports that he went to the jail cell of Montay Stinson, went inside, and saw him unresponsive and not breathing at the time that he walked in. There was additional activity with regard to efforts to try to revive him that were unsuccessful there at the scene. And there are conflicting times that are given as far as when he was pronounced dead, and that is an issue of concern that we have that we will address. But leading up to this tragic evening, Montay reported to his family that he was experiencing multiple medical problems that were not being addressed. He stated to family members that he had problems in his stomach. He was feeling stomach pain, and it felt as if his stomach was going to drop out at one point. He reported that there were problems in the chest area and pain that he was feeling, that he reported that information to deputies on multiple occasions, and that he felt that he was not getting proper medical attention. So the family is obviously concerned and upset. We have a Fulton County medical examiner's medical examination that has been done, and we have those results. And it reports that he had hypertensive cardiovascular disease, and that was listed as the underlying cause of death, and that the cause of death was natural. There are, however, some unanswered questions. First of all, we don't have the medical records just yet. Our concern is that he is said to have been found suffering a severe medical problem due to problems with his chest, where he had been reporting that he had had difficulties with his chest area, his abdominal area in general, and that he wasn't getting treatment, and then he passes away this way. That is obviously our primary issue of concern. It's where we believe the efforts to improve the Fulton County Jail should include the issue of medical treatment and medical neglect, and that's something that we want to make known right now because of these facts that we already have. But there are questions and there are things that we don't know yet that are issues of concern. The medical examiner's report mentions and it uses the words minor blunt force trauma to the head. That is a question of concern to us.
That's right.
The medical examiner's report says that Montay was found initially by a cellmate, but the investigative material does not mention a cellmate. It doesn't mention an interview with a cellmate. It doesn't mention a name of a cellmate. It only says that there was banging from inmates, and that the deputy arrives and that he finds Montay there unresponsive and not breathing. So we have some concern that the sheriff's office chose to issue a report of an investigation that had been done, the reports from the officers, but they neglect to say how all of the other inmates knew to start banging. They neglect to say what the medical examiner's report says, that it was actually a cellmate. And they don't say a name of a cellmate. And so the absence of the information in that regard is something that we believe is suspicious. And so when you have this issue of so-called minor blunt force trauma and the absence of this information about the cellmate and exactly how the other inmates know that they should start banging.
That's right.
That is an issue of concern to us. That is something that we want to get more information about. We intend to pursue it, and we intend to get that information. We intend, when we get the medical records, to have the medical records and the county medical examiner's report looked at by our own expert to give us their own opinion about this. But with those issues being things that are coming in the very near future, we still thought that it was important to bring Montay's story to the public knowledge right now, because we know that healthcare and proper treatment is something that many inmates right now are saying that they are not getting. It is an issue. It was an issue for Montay. It is something that we believe, from what we know, is the reason why he could be in his cell and not receiving medical treatment with the ability to go through something of this nature without having doctors around him or being on the appropriate medication or anything like that from what we can tell so far. So this is what we want the public to know. We want the public to know that Montay Stinson, each of these people, it's been about one person per month over the course of this year, if you average it out, that has died at the jail. But these are brothers, these are sons. Montay was a son, he was a brother, he was a young man with hopes, with dreams, with aspirations, and he is no longer here, and we believe that it is because of neglect with regard to proper treatment and care of his medical condition. And so we want these facts known, and we want the effort to improve the Fulton County Jail, not to just talk about sending people somewhere else, but regardless of how many inmates you send somewhere else, there are still going to be inmates in the Fulton County Jail. The conditions are deplorable. Yes, Montay Stinson reported that conditions were deplorable. He mentioned seeing feces out in various locations. He mentioned many things about the condition of the jail being substandard, and whoever is left at the Fulton County Jail, if they are successful in sending some to other locations to deal with overcrowding, the conditions need to be improved for those people. And we want that to be known. We would like the help of the press to spread this word to the larger community and to the public officials to hold them accountable.
Specifically with the medical issues,
yes.
How could the sheriff best address those immediately? What would you like to see?
Well, with regard to both medical issues and complaints of acts of violence, the inmates go through a process of reporting a problem. And what we find is that those problems are left unaddressed. Right. And so the protocol should be such that anytime such reports are done, there is an immediate response where someone is seen that reports a medical need, but there needs to be supervision, proper and adequate supervision of the process, so that when people like Montay come up and they're saying, I have a problem, and it's not addressed by those that are supposed to take the request on to, with regard to the proper protocols, it's supervised in such a way that there is a backup and safeguard system to make sure that those issues are addressed. We don't find that right now. We find, and I represent people in the Fulton County Jail that will say that they have medical problems, that they make things known, and they are trying to get help in many instances from people on the outside to try to call in to try to help with those issues. That shouldn't be, and the process of overseeing that should be strengthened.
Was he diagnosed with this condition before it?
He was not. He has family members who are here. He has very strong family support. They've communicated to me things that they want the press to know about Montay. This is a very emotional situation for the family, and they have indicated to me just at the time of starting that because of just the feelings that are going on right now, it would be best if I state these things on their behalf, because they're feeling a little overwhelmed by the emotion of the moment. This has been very recent, and the family is still in the stage of the grieving process where it's hard to discuss it and to verbalize these things. And we'd hope you'd understand.
Proper policies and procedures being in place. As far as the medical staffing and the number of staff they have there at the jail, do you believe that's adequate? Where do you stand with that? Do you believe they should replace the current company or provider?
Well, right now we see that the results aren't there. We aren't in a position right now to speak about specific numbers and goals as far as numbers, but we can say that the results that the inmates should be getting with regard to adequate and timely treatment of medical conditions is not being met. And so replacing those that are there is something that should definitely be on the table, and we believe that it should be looked at immediately, because we believe the inmates' needs aren't being met. The family was actually promised at one point that a meeting would be set up with the sheriff, and then they've communicated to me that they felt after that they got the runaround, and it appears as if there were efforts to basically dodge them, and they were not able to meet with the sheriff so far. I intend to follow up on those efforts and to try to have something set up for them, because the sheriff owes them an explanation, particularly when we hear there are inmates banging, saying there's a problem, and there is a complete absence of information as to how the inmates knew that there was a problem. And the investigation doesn't even show that there is an attempt to follow up to gain that information.
That's right.
Where are you all in the legal process at this point?
We would like the medical records and the county medical examiner's information to be looked at by our expert. And once we receive that report and guidance from our expert, having received that information, we believe that there is a strong likelihood that a lawsuit will be filed immediately after that.
Have you heard from the commissioners, any other county officials? I know you said you hadn't heard from the sheriff's office.
Okay, we have not at this point, and Mr. Montay Stinson's sister has just indicated that she is ready to speak at this time, and so Ms. Kimyata Stinson, his sister, is, please receive her.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Um,
Can you move up a little bit?
sure.
Put your foot on the other side. It's okay, that's all. Go ahead.
This is very hard for my family and I. My brother did not have to die in this manner because of neglect, medical neglect from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Their duty, sworn duty, is to not only maintain order, but to also care about the safety of every single inmate in there. They failed my brother. I've spoken to the third in charge. They promised me a meeting with the sheriff for August 25th. August 24th, they canceled. Haven't heard anything, not even a simple condolences. Not, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened to your loved one. What if it was you? How would you all feel?
That's right.
My brother being in that cell should not have been his death wish. Not at all. My family and I want justice for my brother. And I plan and we intend to do just that. Sheriff, my brother's blood is on your hands.
That's right.
It's on your hands, sir. It's on your hands. And it is up to you to do your sworn duty, sir, and make this right. Make this right. Too many men and women are dying at the hands of Fulton County Jail. If that doesn't speak to us as a whole, then something's wrong. These things has to be addressed. We want justice for my brother. He was a loving, kind brother. He would give you the shirt off his back. Very family oriented. He had the biggest smile, as you can see, that lights up any room. It's very painful for my family and I. It was very hard for me to say goodbye to my brother on August 12th. It's hard for me to bury my brother. And I have to stand here and speak about it. Instead of enjoying life with him, he was about to be released in the next day or so.
Wow.
He had a visitation on the day of July 31st. And we were working with this program, and they advised my brother, you will be released within the next day or so. And he was just as happy. That smile right there lit her up. She speaks about it to this day. And now he's gone. So all those promises, all those, we can't wait to Thanksgiving, we can't wait to Christmas. It's gone. Now I just hold on to memories. My family and I, we just gotta speak about the past It's not fair. And we want justice for my brother. Thank you.
I did highlight the fact that these deaths are happening, so it's obviously neglect. You highlighted it earlier, and Mr. Attorney Muhammad responded to it. There's protocol. If there's something going on medically, they put a little request in. I need some medical help. There's an issue going on inside the jail. It's a protocol. And apparently the protocol has not been happening. And even with the other inmates that have passed away, they're putting in requests, and it's falling on deaf ears. And that's why it's important to know that for those Bible readers, Hebrews 13:3 says, remember those who are in prison as if you're in prison yourself. So for the pastors and local leaders, I'm calling you out as well. I think you need to come down here. You can't do nothing else, come and pray. Because we don't need one more inmate dying inside this Fulton County jail. I pray that I don't have to come back here next month, traveling 4 or 5 hours to Georgia when we got our own issues in North Carolina. And they tell me that another inmate has died. I wonder if he was a different race. What if he was a different nationality? I wonder if it would be a cry, some kind of national cry, outcry. When COVID came, they told us to put on masks and told us to take that COVID shot. Some of y'all, I didn't take it. I take herbs. So there needs to be some form of protection inside this jail. I'm ashamed of the sheriff. Even if the family could not call you back, or they called you and you missed a call, you keep calling until you get somebody. It may save a life. And that's why I'm appalled at this jail that's filled with people that look like me. I got 9 friends in prison in South Carolina. So it's big business to keep them inside the jail, my sister, and not to release them. It's big money, big money. So in saying that, I asked that one remedy is a holiday release. What does that mean? I'm not saying let the murderers out and the people that rob and people that rape, but there's some people in here with some low bonds. And the court system can't get it together enough, the courts, clerk of courts, if they can hear me, they can't schedule these court dates because they're doing these continuances. That's all I've been hearing for the last 7 years. And so I'm asking that the clerk of courts get it together as well. It ain't all the sheriff. Somebody needs to schedule some court dates and get these guys out. Do a holiday release. What does that mean? There's some people in here for DUIs. Maybe they're on their 3rd one. Get them some drug counseling classes and get them out of here and get some community service, because that's the remedy. Some of these people are not headed to prison, but because they're holding on to them, they're making money off of these individuals. And it's important that they address this issue. Also, I want to tell you that the Department of Justice, they're working on the case. So we're going to make sure that we reach out to them. Kristen Clark, Department of Justice. She helped us on some cases in the past. So hopefully she can hear our cry today, Ms. Clark, because they're not listening to us in Fulton County. I came down here 2 weeks ago, me and Kenneth Muhammad. We're here again. I don't want to come back next month with the blood of another inmate laying in the hands of the sheriff, who hides behind these closed doors, smoking cigars and hanging out and chilling like life is beautiful. Life ain't that beautiful for us. It ain't been no crystal stairs, Langston Hughes would say. I'll close in saying this. This was somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's uncle. And instead of this young lady sitting at home, maybe being on TikTok or eating breakfast, she got to stand in front of the jail that has the blood of her uncle's hands inside this jail. And so in saying that, I ask that you all do one thing. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you, Fox News, Atlanta News First, Channel 2. Why? Because I'm going to send this link to some national outlets. Be it Good Morning America, my friend Tori. Be it Roland Martin. Whatever the case may be, thank you all for running these links, because as soon as you drop these links, I'm going to send them to a national outlet so that they may be able to hear our cry, because apparently Georgia don't hear us. The mayor don't hear us. The governor don't hear us. We're going to keep screaming, because I've been told by old wise activists as I close, if you keep knocking on the door 340 days out of the year, on New Year's Eve, they're going to open up that door. So, Sheriff, we ask you open up your door and come to a table of peace, as I said before, and talk to us about these issues going on inside this jail. Black people, blacks in particular, make sure you get an autopsy. If your loved one is inside this jail, mothers, get a power of attorney so you can pull the records of the medical records, and you can pull the information of an inmate screaming out for cry. Get a power of attorney. You're not an attorney, but it's the power of an attorney, so that you may be able to get access on your loved one inside this jail. I'm talking to all the mothers and the fathers. And then to those that die inside this jail, don't spend $20,000 on a funeral. And as I attended James Brown's funeral, they told me that the coffin was $200,000, 24-karat gold. I asked that you spend all the money on the funeral, but you get an autopsy so that Mr. Muhammad can do his job and do his due diligence in reference to finding proof. Minor, what's a minor hit upside the head? If you hit me upside the head, you hit me upside the head. And so we want to make sure we address these issues. The inmates are beating on the doors, y'all. Imagine you sick and the inmates are beating on the door asking for help. And nobody's coming in. The guard is sitting in the guard shack, sitting there watching TV or on Facebook, or probably watching pornographic material, because I've gotten 31 cops fired and I can prove it to you. What am I saying? They're beating on the doors, trying to help another inmate that's not even kin to them. Shame on you, Fulton County. How many more? Will I come back here next month? Will I be here on Christmas Day? Because I march on Christmas as well. Will I be back New Year's Eve? I pray I don't. And I pray you get it together. Early release. Clerk of courts, get these court dates scheduled so you can release some of the tension inside this jail. They're sleeping on the floors right now because there's not enough beds in here. Sick is what it is. Counseling, as we close. Mr. Lamar is going to come and talk about how important it is for counseling. And then we'll close with question and answers.
As you said, I'm Lamar Handy, and so as they've mentioned, and the Stinson family has mentioned too as well, it hurts my heart to see this family have to be here today to talk about their loved one who lost his life inside the Fulton County Jail. And so myself, having a nonprofit that's dealt with mental health issues, we think that the Fulton County Jail needs to come together when it comes to any kind of medical situation, whether it's mental health, someone's health itself. If you don't have the support you need inside the jail, then lean on people outside the jail. As Attorney Muhammad has said, as also Brother Barnett has said, and his family has said, let's come together as a community, come together and get those resources. It doesn't make sense to keep coming back here for the same thing over and over and over again, having our black African-American men losing their lives inside the jail. And so I feel like it's important to have those things such as counseling, have those medical people on staff, whether it's inside or outside the jail, to be able to come inside and help give that extra helping hand for assistance, because something has to be done. How many more times will we come here for this situation again before you all come together and realize that this problem has to be solved? This Stinson family here is hurting. To hear this sister talk and hear her heart, how painful it is for her to lose a loved one, this doesn't have to make sense. I have a loved one as well inside the jail for mental health reasons, and he'll be there for a while. I don't want to be a family member to come here to have this situation happen. So that's why, as a community together, I've wrote a letter to the sheriff. I've also wrote a letter to the mayor of Atlanta too as well. I'm asking and pleading for help to please just help these families. Reach out to the families, let them know you care, and come together with us, nonprofits outside the jail, and let us come help you to help these inmates so that we can save their lives, because again, they are humans, and it doesn't make sense for lives to keep being lost inside these jails here. So we just come to you asking for justice for all these families today, so that next month, 2 months, 3 months from now, we won't be back here again for this same situation. So again, let's come together and bring justice to these families. Thank you.
Questions?
Can each say spell your full names?
Spell your full name.
Dr. Rosa Jackson. Yes.
Oh,
Can you just say spell your full name for us?
Montay Stinson, KIMYOTTASTINSON.
Yes, Kenneth Muhammad, KENNETH, last name MUHAMMAD.
John Barnett, JOHN, middle initial C, BARNETT. And I want to thank Attorney Muhammad over and over again, because it takes that legal power and that information we need to get justice in cases like this. So I want to thank him for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.